How are you today?
Well, I'm doing good. Getting
Good.
things set up here.
Another
It's a beautiful day.
video blog tip that we can talk about popular items, right? That's the idea of this.
Well,
Popular topics.
not only popular topics, but necessary topics.
Necessary.
Things that people need to know, right?
Security is a big one. Whether it's IT
Yeah.
security or the web, right? Because we have security.
They blur, right?
They
Sometimes.
blur, yes. So one of the most read blog posts that you had
Right.
was about WordPress security. So
Right.
WordPress, if everybody knows, WordPress is the platform that you can build websites on, right?
Yep.
So think
It's a
of it,
content management system.
content management system. So one of the blog posts was about the WordPress security, and over a third of websites are on this platform. So millions of websites are on this platform. So it's important for security and them being secure. But why? I mean, why should I worry about a hacker or someone trying to get into my website?
Sure.
Why would a hacker care about my website?
Yeah, common question. A lot of small businesses ask me that. And like why are my jewelry shop or whatever, dog grooming business,
Bookstore
who cares,
business,
right?
right.
Who would really care about my business?
Right.
Something I always tell people is a hacker, the more website a hacker gets into and takes control of, they basically create, in essence, a mesh network of zombie websites, stuff they can serve to people. If you take control of 10,000 small business websites that have no value, supposedly,
Right.
and you are serving malicious content through those 10,000 websites, even if they get like 20 people a day or 5 people a day, the more people you have who are serving your stuff,
Right. So if I can paint a picture of this, right?
Yeah.
So
Like
if
Bob
I'm,
Ross.
Right. If I'm a hacker, right, I want to get into your website, not to mess with your content on your website, not to change any of your stuff. I want to get into the server of your website so that I can plant files and put malicious files and code
Exactly.
on the website that you have no idea about,
Yep.
so that when people go to the website, now I'm able to dish out my malicious code,
Right.
because people might be clicking on a button that will activate my code.
Right.
So it's all software programming backend. The hacker is not really after stealing your content.
Well,
It depends on what kind
it
of
depends.
website. Right.
But
Depends on
generally speaking, a hacker doesn't want you to know they're there.
Right.
In early days of the web, people would put up like Al-Qaeda symbols and that kind of stuff. I think people realized that after a while, it's better if they didn't know you were there. And if they were serving your website to, I'll give an example that happened very recently. A client called and said, "Hey, Mike, whenever somebody Googles my business name, they get it forwarded to a prescription drug company."
Okay.
I'm like, boy, that's not good. And so what happened was, this is getting a little technical. You ready for this?
Yes.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's something called an htaccess file on a website. It's nothing anybody ever uses from a user perspective. But what it does is it can actually tell the web server to do certain things.
Okay.
Somebody gained access, I'm guessing, somehow, to their FTP, right? And they FTP'd into the website. They somehow gained control of that htaccess file. And what happens is, if you get control of this htaccess file, you can forward the whole website to somewhere else,
Right.
or forward a certain page.
Okay.
That's what they did. So what happens when somebody went to this person's website? The whole website literally forwarded to this
Right.
other website.
Right.
That's something else that can happen. And oftentimes what happens is a hacker will get into a website. They'll plant some code, or they'll do something like they'll get into a certain file, maybe the htaccess file or something, and they'll just kind of sit there and they'll wait for a while, maybe a year, maybe 6 months, maybe 2 months, and then they'll start doing things, right?
Right.
Well, one of the things that we put on all of our websites, we learned very early on, website security on WordPress websites is even more important than, arguably, than, let's say, like a website like Wix or something like that. Excuse me. Because what happens is, on a WordPress website, I equate WordPress to Windows versus Mac. Now, this is a little confusing, probably. So, Macintoshes only encompass probably 3 or 4% of the market.
Right.
from a PC perspective.
Correct.
People think it's a very popular platform, and it is on some level, but really only from an iPhone perspective, an iPad perspective. And my number might not be exactly right. So if somebody's looking at this going, there's 10%. Well, I'm not sure what the exact number is, but it's a small percentage of the market share. Windows encompasses 98% or whatever, 90%. WordPress is kind of like that. So WordPress is sort of like Windows in the content management system world. There's so many websites on WordPress that it's really just an easy target for hackers, just like Windows versus Mac. That's why you don't see too many Mac viruses, not because it's a iron tight operating system, but because it's like, why would I spend all my time getting 2% of the market share or whatever?
Correct.
Same thing with WordPress. So people hack into WordPress because there's so many WordPress websites out there. And the reality of WordPress is most people who build WordPress websites and manage WordPress websites, I'm tooting my own horn here, they don't do it correctly.
Right.
They don't do backups. They don't put security plugins on their websites. They don't monitor anything. They especially don't update plugins.
Right.
When you don't update a plugin on a WordPress website, you're just asking for trouble.
So a plugin would be an example of like maybe a form on your website.
Exactly.
That would be a plugin.
Exactly.
Right. So if you can real quick,
Yep.
The top 3 things that any website developer or someone building or maintaining a WordPress website, what do they need to have to make sure that things are secure?
Number 1, have a security plugin.
Okay.
A good security plugin will monitor when people try to brute force attack your website. When they try and guess the password or try and get in somehow, they try and get in through a back door, try and do anything. This particular, I could say the name, but I don't know if it's important, the name exactly right now. Have a security plugin because that will be your first step of defense.
Right.
Secondly, have backups on your website.
Okay.
If somebody in the off chance does get through your security plugin and messes with your website, having a fresh backup that you can pull back up in the matter of 20 minutes or an hour is very important.
Agree.
The third thing is always do updates on WordPress. We do it weekly. Every Monday is when we log into a dashboard that shows all of our websites and it says what needs to be updated. Make sure you're updating WordPress very, very often.
Okay.
Those would be the 3 things I would say. And if you are wondering about if your website has a security plugin, if you're wondering if your website is backed up, if you're wondering about any of this stuff, call the person, email the person who built your website and ask them specific questions about your website.
Right.
And if they're not doing that, find somebody who will help you.
Give us a call.
Give us a call.
We can certainly do that for you.
We do that all the time for people. It's a lot of information. Hopefully that was
I
clear.
think you touched on all of it and definitely if you want to read more about this, you can go to our blog.envisionitsolutions.com, and you can read all about our blogs and security and IT and everything else. So thank you again. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, and if you want to subscribe, we're doing this video as often as we can.
Subscribe below.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.